He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
We are back.
We're back.
Butler Mortgage. Angry Mortgage. Ron Butler. Ron Mortgage Guy.
Ron
We're
Mortgage
here.
Guy. Live in the flesh.
A lot of flesh. Ton of flesh. Jesus. Well, we can't even do any small talk about Easter because it's too much fucking news.
Yeah.
So much news. All right. So we're going to start with peak insanity. Mm-hmm. Peak insanity from the federal Liberal government. They're rolling out the Renters' Bill of Rights. Utter bullshit. Okay, utter bullshit. So let me tell you what the story is. Prime Minister, all the ministers, everybody goes to town. They're on the news. They're on Twitter. They're everywhere. There are videos everywhere talking about the new Renters' Bill of Rights. They're gonna fix the world for everybody who's renting in Canada. For all of you young people who are renting, like you,
all of us, yeah,
all of you. He's gonna fix everything. The government of Canada is gonna fix everything.
How?
With lies. So nothing's going to get fixed. Absolutely nothing. So I'll quickly, I got to go back in time a year because we got something called a budget coming out in Canada. They got the budget for Canada is coming out in just 10 days. Oh, no, sorry, it's just a few days. A few days it'll be out, okay? And they also got to be ready for this budget because, usually they look like shit. Like the debt's getting bigger, their deficit's getting bigger, they're spending more, like all hell's breaking loose. So they like to come up with a story to go with the budget. So the story is now they're going to have Renters' Bill of Rights. Well, guess what? Last year they had Homebuyers' Bill of Rights. It was the year before, but they're always coming out with a lot of Bill of Rights, these guys. Okay? There's a lot of rights, okay? So let's check back in on the Homebuyers' Bill of Rights. So they claimed they were going to end blind bidding. Blind bidding. So here's the most important thing to remember. This is the key where all this bullshit comes from. Everything to do with property, like ownership of property, is provincial. It's not federal at all. But the federal government likes to pretend they're involved because it's what pisses everybody off. Like everybody's pissed off about housing and affordability, right? That's what everything in Canada is about that. It's about rents are too high, home prices are too high, interest rates are too high, mortgage rates are too high, can't afford shit, food is too expensive, restaurants have gone crazy.
It's just a shit show, basically.
It's a shit show, okay? But the federal government actually has nothing to do with property. Nothing. It's 100% provincial. It's in the Constitution, okay? But they like to pretend they could do something with it. So they came out with the Home Buyers' Bill of Rights, which was all a lie. They said they were going to end blind bidding, which they had no right to do because they don't control any of the real estate agents in any province. They said they were going to force home inspections for every new home. Again, no control over it. There's a couple of other lies, okay? But bottom line is, they said they were going to get the province's cooperation, and they were going to make it happen. This is the Homebuyers' Bill of Rights.
Did they make it happen?
Fuck all happened. Okay, absolutely nothing. Like, not one single thing. Here's a good one. So, voluntarily, in Ontario, the Real Estate Association said, well, we're going to put in a rule by which if the seller wants to, they can list all the bids. If they want to. But it's optional.
Wow, they didn't get far with that one.
Well, so far it's about 1% have participated. Like 99% said, no, fuck that. We're going to keep having blind bidding. Okay. Like, come off it. So that was the last time they ran out with their Bill of Rights that they had no control over and pretended they would do it. Absolutely fuck all, nothing happened. So now this just last week, Just last week, the Prime Minister and the Housing Minister and everybody comes out and says, we're going to have a renter's bill of rights. We're going to fix everything.
Of course.
Let me run it down for you. They're going to create a fund of $15 million for tenants to sue landlords. They're going to give help in suing landlords. Now, very interesting idea. The issue really is in all these provinces, but particularly Ontario, British Columbia. Ontario is by far the worst. Okay. The landlord and tenant board, the people who actually work with landlords and tenants to get things straightened out, to get tenants quit paying or landlords won't repair things, they're the ones who fix it. Okay. They're 53,000 cases behind.
Yeah, no shit.
No shit.
It's like an 8 to 12 month wait just to get a court date.
Boom. So the government's going to provide $15 million to sue landlord, to help tenants sue landlords, but nothing to fix these fucked up tenant tribunals, or landlord-tenant
So you
tribunals.
still have to wait about a year, but you'll have a little bit more money to do so? Like,
It's
how is
all
that?
crazy. Like, how about
Not
this one?
fixing the problem.
Not
per
even
se.
slightly. It's just a bullshit soundbite. All right, so let's think about it for a second. Okay, so you're gonna help. You're the federal government. You really shouldn't be interfering with this stuff at all. But you're gonna put up $15 million to help legal aid, help tenants sue landlords. Like if you were a landlord, and I realize some landlords are bastards, but most of them are okay. I'd say 80% are okay. 20% sons of bitches. Okay, so. I'm sorry, landlords, but that's just the reputation you have. But 80% of you are good. So if you're a landlord and you're just one of the normal ones, the okay ones, and you sit back and you think, wait a second, my own government is supplying my tenants with money to sue me?
That's like a huge slap in the face.
Maybe that landlord just decides, you know what, I'm not making that much money at this gig anyway. I'm just going to sell it. So when they sell it, they ain't going to sell it to another landlord. They're going to sell it to somebody who's going to move in. Okay. And that's one less unit for a renter to rent. It's that simple. So that was really stupid. Now let's go on to the super stupid things. Okay. The government says they're going to and again, they have no control over this. They have to get the provinces to cooperate, which the provinces will not. Like seriously, they won't. So they're going to somehow force a registry. They love registries. This Liberal government loves registries. Like I think they spent like $1.6 billion on a gun registry, and then nobody used it anyway. So because like it would be common practice for a criminal to register their gun that they got from the
that's
States.
so
right?
logical.
So sensible, yeah. So all the honest people are blowing their brains out registering their guns. But anyway, we won't go there. I guess we did. But so they're going to have the landlord has to report all the previous rents that he charged in his unit when he offers it. Like when he says, okay, I got this 2-bedroom for rent, and they're supposed to list what the rent was in at least the previous 2 times. Okay. Well, here's the thing. When you're dealing with people who haven't rented for decades or never, or the government pays for their house, okay, they don't know sweet fuck all about this, right? So there's a 1% vacancy rate, all right? So if the idea was you go to your landlord is offering this 2-bedroom for $2,800, and you say, hey, landlord, this ain't right. You used to be offering this for $2,200. So you've had a huge jump here. I think you should not charge me as much. To which the landlord replies, next!
Yeah.
Get out of here, fucker!
If you won't take it, someone else will.
We got 1% vacancy rate. This is like the stupidest bullshit that you could ever imagine. Like, don't get me wrong, if there was a 9% vacancy rate, might help. Okay? But there's not.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to go out, try to find a rental accommodation right now, and coming into the spring, would you just expect that you just have to accept whatever the hell they offered because there isn't any? No, but seriously, there isn't. There hardly is any, right?
Well, then yeah, but it's just yeah, it's so shitty. I'm like, no, I wouldn't, but I'm like, no, I probably would if I was in the circumstance where I have to find a fucking place to live.
Exactly.
Then yeah, right. And like I told you last time, my friend, she's not getting evicted, but they're moving in, or family's moving in, and this is like they're kind of scrambling to find a place, and it's just like it's shitty because their rent was comfortable, not as comfortable as can be, and then now I can imagine they're probably going to be paying
much more.
Much more. Yeah.
So, but it would in no way help them to know what other people used to pay, because when it's a 1% vacancy rate and you're scrambling around just trying to find what's okay.
Yeah. If anything, it's more heartbreaking knowing that just 2 years ago it was probably a good $600-700 cheaper.
So it will just make you sad, but it won't help. Okay,
exactly.
So
it's not going to really help anything.
No, except maybe feel worse. Yeah. You'll feel worse.
Yeah, okay. It's more emotional damage. Sure.
More emotional damage. Exactly. Very good. That's the best way to put it. Thank you, Prime Minister. More emotional damage for tenants. Thank you. Okay. Now it gets even crazier. So here's the other big deal. This is something they're really pushing. That they're going to force the credit bureaus to get reports from landlords if people paid on time to help their credit score. So the landlords, by the way, this doesn't exist right now at all. Some people think they have some goofy services. They think it works. It doesn't work. I've been in lending for 28, going to be more soon, all these years. And I've never seen a rental rating in a credit bureau, and there's no way to do it. Anyway, that's all ridiculous. But let's just say what the idea is. The idea is that if the tenant is a perfect payer, that it would get into their credit bureau and it would insist in increasing their credit score. Okay?
Okay.
So it sounds okay in theory, right?
Right.
Except for about 4 things that means it's absolutely stupid. So, first of all, the credit bureau is not going to let landlords, like little individual humans, report to them, right? They're extremely vetted. Like they don't let like banks report to them because they don't trust anybody. They don't even want to give you access to their system because it's full of such key information, privacy stuff. Okay,
right.
So they're just going to let random individual landlords start reporting to the credit bureau.
Sure.
Yeah. So next thing is, so if your landlord's mad at you and you did pay perfectly, what would they just lie and say you were late? Okay. Yeah. Like if they were mad for some reason. We have an argument over the dog, so I'm gonna say that you were late.
People are petty, natural. Yeah.
Not everybody. A lot are great, but enough, right? So the information is not accurate. Like you couldn't believe how careful, like some of these credit bureaus, they go to the banks and they audit them and say, are you sure this guy paid on time? Are you sure this guy didn't pay on time? Like they actually do checking functions to try to make sure they have data integrity. How do you have data integrity with like one couple who own a rental in Burlington? I mean, you can't do data integrity work with that. So that's crazy. Now, the other idea that they suggested was, well, if you have some credit problems, the fact you paid your rent on time should fix your credit. Well, these are all people who've never had to worry about credit in their lives, right? I mean, they don't know about it. They don't understand it. They've never worked in the industry. They don't talk to anybody who works in the industry. They couldn't care less how it really works.
Yeah.
They just want to make up bullshit to talk about, okay? So let's say that you flaked on 2 car leases and you've had 2 cars repossessed, but you did pay all your rent on time because you wanted to keep that roof over your head.
Right.
Should not paying the cars and have 2 cars being repossessed be offset by you paying that? Like you should have a good score, right?
Of course not.
Yeah, like no, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, like the whole idea is crazy.
Yeah.
So I've now outlined all the key factors of the and finally, I forgot one doozy. This is a really, really crazy one. So they're going to go to the provinces and ask all the provinces to adopt a universal federal government leasing form. Like you'd only have one lease across Canada, one leasing form. Now, let me just throw this idea out to you. The province of Quebec has their own very different traditional landlord and tenant policies that date back 300 years. So let me just ask you, do you think the government of the province of Quebec is going to want to say, you know what? Screw all our old history. We love you, federal government. We love you to tell us what to do in Quebec. So, yeah, we'd love to have your new federal universe. The hell with all of our traditions and everything we've ever done. You're right. We love you, federal government. So we're going to... No, fuck no.
If it was up to Quebec, they would be their own fucking country right now.
No, so they actually want to stick around. But I got a lot of love for Quebec. I love the towns. I love Quebec City. I love Montreal.
They're just very independent province compared to the rest.
It's their own culture, and they're entitled to their own culture. But look, the idea that, by the way, everyone inside creating this policy knew it was bullshit. Because the first time anybody mentioned it, everybody else at the table, let's say there's 10 guys at the table, and one guy brings up this, hey, let's have a federal universal lease so that would help tenants, right? So 9 of the other 10 people looked at that person and said, you're fucking stupid. Quebec's never going to agree with this. That's nuts. But then the boss at the other end of the table said, yeah, but it's quality bullshit.
Yeah.
This sounds got a good ring to it. But boss, it's ridiculous. They're never going to accept it in Quebec. They're never going to accept it in Alberta. Okay. And I think Doug Ford's going to tell us to fuck ourselves. Okay. Like he's not going to, he ain't going to do it. Okay. Well, let's still put it out there. It's a quality lie. Okay. So
and they're shifting it. So they're making it seem like, oh, it's because the provinces won't agree instead of it's just a bullshit thing to do.
It's totally bullshit. We knew it would never work. And by the way, we're sort of half-assed violating the Constitution by intruding on the province's total control over property issues. Okay. So so this was the big announcement. All these ministers, Prime Minister, he's banging the table. He's talking in his breathiest, most sincere actor way. And we're going to fix it for young Canadians. Young Canadians we're going to give young Canadians a leg up, and we're going to solve these problems. And millions of young Canadians are going to get their chance to own a home. Bullshit!
So he thinks that we just all have a bunch of shitty credit scores and that's why we can't buy homes?
Seems to be that.
That's the problem?
Yeah, that's the problem, yeah. Nothing to do with the $1 million price tag, okay?
No.
Nothing to do with the $200,000 saving up a down payment. It's all just these
Obviously, it's credit scores.
It's gotta be credit scores.
So fucking stupid. Oh my God.
Hey, this is one time I think they've stepped in it. After their disaster on the phony bullshit homeowners bill of rights or home buyers bill of rights where they did nothing, they just said a bunch of bullshit, nothing happened. Now they're going to be confronted with this. People are going to start to say, wait a second, before every budget you run out some new bill of rights bullshit. That's a total lie. We think you're liars, okay? Because I got a feeling that's the way it's going to run.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
At least I'll have a good credit score.
Yeah, well, people, as if it will ever happen that way, which it will not. Okay, it will just never happen. All right, so that's all completely untrue. All right, so let's talk about another strange thing that's what happened last week, and it's really picked up some steam. And people have asked me, people in the comment section, to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it quickly because it's just absolutely stupid, and that's all I can say because I can't change what CRA does. This is about blind trusts. Okay, so blind trusts. We've had a history in Canada for, maybe 125 years of if parents want to co-sign for their kids, they could co-sign for their kids on a mortgage, and they would probably end up having to have some small interest in a house. Like, let's say kids have 99% of the interest on title of the home, and the parents have 1%, okay? Because the kids are making the payments, right? The parents just co-sign to help strengthen the mortgage application and make sure the kids could get a mortgage, okay? Well, now the CRA just dreamed this shit up, pulled it out of their ass. Now, maybe for investment, like if you started investing money for your kids and you put it in both of your names, both the parents and the kids' names, well, maybe that should be a blind trust. I don't know. Maybe that should be a trust. But this bullshit about the house is crazy. Okay, it just allowed the kid to buy the house. The kids to buy the house. All right, it's like it's 1%. So who cares? All right. And the intention was obvious what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Oh no. CRA says, fuck you all. You're going to fill out this form and that form and the other form, and you better fucking do it or you're in trouble. Okay. You're going to have a blind trust for that interest in that house. Sweet Christ on a cracker. Okay. Like, you guys got nothing better to do at fucking CRA. Like, seriously, you fucks, okay?
We have so many employees are trying to find them jobs to do.
There's literally no reason to do this. Look, I don't know enough about the investment side of it. I don't pretend to know. I don't know about parents having investments shared with their kids. Maybe it's necessary, maybe it's not. But what I will say on the house, when it's only meant to allow them to get a mortgage, okay? That's bullshit. Yeah. It's creating more paperwork, more bullshit, more foolishness. By the way, I can't stop it. They don't care. They just put it in the rule. Because that's what they do, right? They just change the rules every fucking year. No reason. Just do it.
They're just trying to make it seem like they're doing a lot.
Well, they're sure as fuck doing a lot. They're doing a lot of fucking damage. Okay, like that's what they're fucking doing. All right, we got that's blind trust. I mean, look, I could talk. I could talk about it, but in great detail. But there is only one central truth. It's crazy for mortgages. It's crazy. Okay, like we're going on 125 years of parents joining their children in some sort of support of getting a loan to buy a home.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're going to create a whole layer of paperwork that never existed before for reasons that no one can properly explain to me.
Especially at a time where people are getting most help from their parents because they can't do it alone.
And critically, in almost every single case I see, and we see a ton. You know how many of these we do. You see, there's just tons and tons. The kids are making the payments.
Yeah.
The parents aren't making. The kids are paying the property tax. They're paying 100%. They're paying the condo fees. Kids are paying everything to do with it.
They just needed the help to qualify.
That's all it was. That's it. And we're going to now crucify these parents with a bunch of extra forms and fill out and maybe some extra tax. Because at the end of the day, we know CRA wants some extra tax, right?
Want their tax money, baby.
Sweet Jesus. That's ridiculous. All right. We had another bit of news. Last week was kind of interesting. The Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, OSFI. Boss there's Peter Routledge. Thinks he's the smartest guy alive. So he didn't run for his money with Tiff Macklin on that one. So now, with all due respect to Peter Routledge, he made one hero call that makes him look like a genius. And I give him the props. He did. So way back before any of this, before COVID, before any prices took off like mad bastards and house prices went like fucking nuts in 2021. Way back when, Peter Routledge said, we have to have a stress test. These rates are so low. We have to add 2% to everything or a minimum of 5.25. And we have to make sure that if people's renewal comes up, because normally that's every 3 to 5 years, that if the rates went way up, because remember, rates were like 199, okay? 149, right? So if the rates went way, way up, people would still be able to make their payments comfortably. If they got a huge renewal increase, they could make their payments. So full props to Peter Routledge. He was right. It was a hero call. He made it. People opposed him. Everybody opposed him. Turns out he was right. But now, because he's made one great call, he's going to dine out on that for the rest of his fucking existence and do a whole bunch of shit from here on out. So background story is during the whole of 2020, I think basically most of 2022 and part of 2023, the bank regulator, OSFI, it was the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, did a tremendous amount of research and a tremendous amount of communication with all the stakeholders, the banks, the public, with all kinds of regulatory agencies, and talked about this a ton, is adding another test, a portfolio test to banks to say, we want you to make sure that no mortgage exceeds 4.5 times the income of the applicants. Okay, so it's can't exceed it. Now there's a bunch of workarounds for rentals and stuff like that, but it's basically an extra test because they were seeing when they audit, because the OSFI does audit. Like a lot of times they just look at reports that come from banks and they study it. It's all in arrears, like it's all on mortgages that are closed, car loans that are over, whatever. It's all stuff that happened in the past. But they study it for trend, and they started to see this 4.5 times income issue starting to creep up into the 5s. Sometimes it bumped up into the 6s, came back down again. And they did a lot of consultation, and they said at the end of 2023, they said, well, we're going to now go to the finance minister for final approval. And at the time, the Minister of Finance said, fuck no, we're not going to do that. Okay, we're just not. I mean, there's enough bullshit going on in the mortgage world without you creating another barrier, okay? But because Peter Routledge has made this one brilliant call in his life, he's on it like a dog on a bone. Like he never leave it alone. He got pushed off, he got pushed back, but then he's going, like he just keeps on going. Like he keeps going back and going back and going back. And now he starts talking about the fact that, look at, if rates are finally going to start to come down. So even though we still have the stress test, which is big, we're going to, I'm going to insist that you do this, Finance Ministry, Department of Finance. I insist you do this because when the rates start to come down, the real estate market's going to explode again, and we got to have these controls in place.
Right.
Okay? So finally, they rolled over. They just said, yeah, okay, we're worried about the real estate market too, so yeah, okay. Now, what's this mean for everybody? Not much, particularly not much today when rates are high, and the stress test makes them qualify even higher. This 4.5 times income test is not a major issue. But and by the way, it doesn't take effect until first quarter of 2025. So it's still ways away. So what does it mean? It means that it's just in this portfolio. It's not individual. Like the stress test is individual. We look at each individual loan and say we got to add 2% to it. Every single loan.
Right.
Every single mortgage we do, that's it. This is more of a portfolio thing where they look at the banks every quarter, every month or so. They look at the reports coming out and say, oh, it's creeping up, it's going down. Banks will have to somehow adjust their approach to underwriting to make sure they pass the test. Right now, they'll all pass it because rates are super high. But when rates start to come down, that may change.
Yeah.
So my suspicion is what we're going to see, although people disagree with me, other professionals in the business disagree with me. They say, oh, no, Ron, we think virtually nothing's going to happen. Everything's going to be fine. But my belief is nothing's ever fucking fine when you add a new layer of rules. Okay. Like something always kicks out. I believe we'll see people who have multiple rentals who are trying to get another rental, or maybe they bought pre-construction and it's coming due. I think some of those people are going to get in trouble on this thing. I think they're in trouble already, but I think they're going to be in worse trouble because this test will, sure, there's rental offsets, but they're not 100%.
Right.
And I also think that when it comes time to get exceptions so that people can buy the house they felt they should be able to buy, they get mortgage exceptions to get there. Okay, they probably won't. But there's a whole bunch of people who say this is good. It's good that we don't let people get too stretched on their mortgage money. And my response to that is, yes, I agree. But the more we layer on rules,
the more limited it becomes and the harder it's going to be for your day-to-day Canadian to get a home.
Exactly. And not just that, but it's more labor cost associated with the mortgage. People don't get that, right? So one thing government never cares about is spending on labor because they just hire people endlessly. And when they run out of people to hire, they hire consultants, okay? And when they even tire about that, somebody actually just does fraud and steals the money from us and invents contracts that don't really do anything. That's how we got Arrive scam, and we're up to $60 million for an app that barely works, okay?
Yeah.
So that's the truth, is that you just create more bureaucrats watching more stuff. And I don't know if that's doing us any good, really. I really don't. I mean, let's just try to build some more houses and get the prices down. I think that would make a lot more sense.
100%.
And all this
that should be the focus.
That's got to be the focus. Jesus. All right. So we got some viewer mail. We got questions from the viewers, questions from the listeners. We're going to answer.
Okay. This one says, will the Bank of Canada cut rates on April 10th?
Great question. Now, you know, I do a lot of videos on this stuff. I do a lot of stuff on it before that date comes. When the date comes closer, the date's coming up. You know, it's probably next week. I don't think there's going to be a cut. No. We had a report come out last week that indicated that the Canadian GDP was still going up. So I know nobody feels like it. I know nobody feels like the economy's doing well because
No.
Like,
no.
Nobody that I know feels like it,
No.
and nobody you know feels like it, but somehow the government thinks it is. Okay, a lot of different reasons, a lot of different baskets of items that they think about to grow the GDP, and also one thing I've talked about before: when you bring in 1.2 million people in a year, you will jump your GDP because they all got to eat. They got to go. They got to drive somewhere. They got to get somewhere. Basic necessities. They create more. They add to your economy. It's as simple as that. So I think, I think that report it just delayed. A lot of people expected an April cut. I don't expect an April cut. We'll see. I could be surprised. I'm not as dead sure as I was in March. Like I told everybody, fuck you all. I make the announcement ahead of time. Okay.
Are you still going to do your announcement the day before?
I might not because, I thought I knew I was solid. Okay. I knew I was so solid. We'll watch how things go this week and I'll make my decision. But yeah, we may run the TIFF Muppet out again. I mean, TIFF may come and visit and be angry and have a bad English accent. But anyway, that happened. All right, what's next?
This one says, my mortgage payment is monthly. Should I change to weekly to get the interest down?
This is an eternal question, not a bad one. All right, so when you pay monthly, obviously you pay 12 times a year. Okay. When you pay weekly, you pay 52 times a year. Now, there isn't there isn't 48 months, right? Like you actually all that biweekly or weekly does is gently trick you into paying extra.
Yeah.
Because if you paid $2,000 a month for 12 months, well, you've paid $24,000.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you pay $1,000 a month twice a week, or $500 a month 52 times, you pay an extra $2,000. That's it. You're just paying extra. Okay.
Yeah.
There's 2 months in the year where you say to yourself, Jesus, this was what happened? Like I got less money at the end of the month. Well, that's because there were 3 times you paid or 5 times you paid instead of 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So weekly, bi-weekly, it's not a bad idea as long as you understand it's not the fact you're paying weekly or bi-weekly that makes it better. It's the fact you're paying extra. You're tricked into paying extra. It's not a terrible trick, but it's a trick just the same.
Yeah.
So understand that if you're comfortable with paying extra, but also remember you could just throw $2,000 in once a year, right? Like you could.
More flexible,
Every bank mortgage has every major company mortgage has lots of prepayment. Even the credit unions, everybody's got prepayment. You don't have to worry about it. So my answer is do it if you like, if it suits your payroll system, because sometimes people get paid every week or every 2 weeks. Maybe it helps, but yeah, it's not the reason why your mortgage is getting paid down. It's because you're paying too much. You're paying extra. Okay, that's the real reason. All right, I got to touch on this sad story that I've been covering a little bit for the last few weeks. The story of the mortgage broker in Hamilton, Burlington area, Claire Drage, who ran out $100 million worth of promissory notes. Yeah, promissory notes.
Do you have an update?
We have a little update. The company that she operated the promissory notes out of, called Windrose Group, they filed for corporate kind of bankruptcy protection. Like there's 2 stages in corporate. Like if it's personal bankruptcy, you just run into the trustee, sign up, boom, you're bankrupt. Okay. But with corporations, you have to go through a couple of phases. So they initiated phase 1 last week. So maybe 10 days ago now. Okay. Because as I said to everybody, when you're starting to get 45 lawyers' letters about claims people want to sue you, you got to make a decision.
Of course.
Right? Like, because the money is gone, right? Fucking gone. The money's gone. Nobody's going to get their money.
Yeah.
No matter what's being said, no matter what anybody's told, the money's gone.
I'm sure people had like a sliver of hope, but that may have just been gone with.
God damn, if you'd given somebody $300,000, you would sure as fuck hope the money would come back, right? Or $500,000, or
anything at that point.
Ugh, it's so horrible. And I talked to more people. As you know, we sometimes talk to the victims of this thing. And I know everybody's first instinct is to say, well, why would you give money for a promissory note? It's just a piece of paper with a name on it. I promise to pay you back. That's like toilet paper. It's bullshit, okay? Like, why would people accept that? And I'm always explaining to them that it was gradual. Like, I've talked to so many of these victims now. Some of them were her employees.
Oh, shit.
Some of them were agents and brokers who worked for her. But she had a relationship with all of them. And many times it started with her. Claire was in the business for like 20 years. Okay. I talk to her like past tense now because I don't think that license is going to last forever. Okay. I mean, like, I think that, if you've signed up personally, like you signed a personal guarantee, which a number of the victims showed me that she put her name on it. She said personal guarantee. Well, then you're going to get those 45 lawyers' letters too.
Yeah.
And if you want to try to defend an infinite stream of claims, in the courts, you're going to even go broke faster. So the likelihood is personal bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's reality. Okay. So, yeah, I think that we'll see a personal filing, we'll see a corporate filing, we'll see that it'll all just go. But I believe these poor people who trusted her, because initially they got a mortgage from her. You know, she's a mortgage broker. They got a mortgage from her, and then they might want to fix up their house, so they got a private mortgage to do some renovations, and that all worked out well. And then she said to them, "Hey, you know that private mortgage? Why don't you lend some of that money yourself? Because you saw how well it worked for you, so you could lend some of that money yourself in a mortgage, not a promissory note, a mortgage." And then that happened. They found some money. Well, in many cases, and here's maybe the greatest tragedy of them all, Claire got them a line of credit on their house. So that $300,000 that went into the promissory note, it's not just gone. They still owe it on their house. Okay. Yeah. Like, whoa, fuck me. Horrible. Yeah. Okay. So that happened. Person. Yes. But again, don't everybody out there think these people are just stupid and deserve what happened to them. She created a bond of trust with people with successful transactions where she seemed to be very helpful to people.
There was no reason for them not to trust her.
After years of a successful relationship, you probably, and all she said was, well, you used to make 11% on this mortgage. Now I can make you 15% on this promissory note. That would be great, right? Oh, wow, that's great. Is it the same as the mortgage? Well, no, not quite. But you know me. I know where to put the money to make a good return, and I feel it's very safe. Okay, which is bullshit. Okay, that's bullshit. But the money's gone. So we're gonna keep following this story because I think at some point there may be a possibility of criminal code charges. Like if certain things were done with the money, then I don't know, it could be more serious.
That's what I'd like to know, like where all that money went.
Oh, we think it's going to take a long time. Oh, that's one thing about the Canadian system, the Canadian justice system dealing with white collar crime. It is slow, so slow. Nobody cares. Cops don't care.
Yeah,
it's complicated, right? Crowns don't care because it's complicated. When things are complicated. Hey, let's go catch some car thieves. Hey, we got some.
Oh my God. Have you seen those videos on TikTok?
Yeah.
Where people are like just leaving them out like cookies and milk with their car keys.
Car keys.
Leaving notes on the doors, following what the cops said. Yeah.
But here's the one thing that you'll never ever see. There was a big bust last week in Toronto. They arrested 7, recovered like 25 cars or something. By the way, there's a car stolen every 5 minutes in Canada right now.
Disgusting.
It's fucking ridiculous. But the one thing they never tell you is they never tell you whether or not they also, after they arrested them, they never tell you that, we let them all go again. Because it's under Canadian law, theft without violence is something where they just let you go to come back to court later. You don't. Some of these car thieves, when they're caught, they don't even spend the night in jail. They just get charged, sign here, accept the charge. Okay, you got a court appearance in this 2 weeks. Off you go.
And I bet the cops apologizing for their inconvenience.
No, I don't think that. But
they're way too nice. Like, it's way too fucking friendly.
It is not a victimless crime.
I get it. Canadians are known for being nice, but like, that's just some bullshit. Straight.
Because every one of us is going to have our car insurance go up. Every single one of us. Mine did. Mine went up 18%.
Yeah, because you have one of the most like stolen.
Not really. My car's too old. Like they're fussy.
But isn't it the brand, or they're going by make and model?
It's a business. It's a business. You can't bring in my old 6-year-old, 7-year-old Lexus. They don't want it. Like the top thieves will say, "What? No, we don't want it. Take this back. Give this back to this fat fucker. We don't want this."
But it's push to start, right? That's what makes it.
It might be a little harder, but look, I mean, here's the truth. They have a shopping list. No, I'm not bullshitting you. Like the guys at the top say, okay, we got our orders from the African used car lots, and they only want this year. They want 2,220 year 2020 and up Range Rovers. They want G-Wagons, but only these 2 years. Most recent. They want Lexus, but it's only the new Lexus, not the old model from 6 years ago. We want the last 2 years. Get that Lexus, okay? Well, I'm old. I'm old, and the car's old. Okay, so I'm safe. But yeah, no, it's absolutely fucked up. Okay, like
So bizarre.
like everybody's insurance goes up, and then they arrest them, and they let them go. It's catch and release. That's it. So, all right. So there's one other issue before we get to our big rant. Okay, I'm going to leave it till next show. Okay, that sounds indecisive, but
tension.
We got to have stuff for the next show. So now we're going to go straight to our favorite part of the show.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, what the actual fuck is going on here? This comes back to my buddy Peter Routledge at the superintendent of OSFI. Okay, so I've had this on the show before. I put this out on the show before. When your mortgage renews in Canada, and okay, Ron, you're not your usual screaming self. Give me a fucking minute. I'm going to get there, okay? But I got to give a little background first, all right? Everybody should know this. When your mortgage renews in Canada, basically everybody gets renewed. As long as you've made your payments on time, you will get a renewal offer. And that's smart. Like, and by the way, when we get you that renewal offer, we don't ask you to supply all your income all over again. We don't know. If you're with a bank and they see you paid on time, and the 5 years is coming up, and you got to renew, they don't ask you to prove income. They don't. And that's, by the way, the government accepts this. Peter didn't actually like it. There was one point where Peter said, maybe, excuse me, maybe we should ask them for their income. And the government said, shut the fuck up. You're not doing that. The Department of Finance said, shut up. Don't be stupid. Like, we can't be terrorizing people on their renewals. We don't have 25-year mortgages in Canada. We don't have 30-year mortgages.
Yeah.
We have 30-year amortization, but the terms are basically 5 years, 3 years. You can get 10 years, nobody takes it.
Yeah.
It's like 2% of sales. Nobody takes it. So the government said, no, we're not going to do that. That's fucking stupid. Because the government knows how much trouble they'll get in. Like, you got to have everybody going through a full income verification for every fucking renewal. And when they've made every perfect payment on time, ridiculous. So he didn't get that. He was looking for it. He didn't get it. And then it's now he's saying, well, but we still will have the stress test on renewal. Well, wait a second. Slow down. Wait a sec. So your existing bank who sends you the renewal offer hasn't even looked at your income, not even seen it. But if you want to shop around, which we continuously recommend, you want to shop around to get a better rate on renewal, or even shop around so you can have ammunition to tell your bank they're too high, their offer's too high. You gotta qualify it. You gotta provide full income and the stress test.
That's so stupid.
That's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. So what happened? There was a complaint made to another federal body called the Competition Tribunal. The Competition Tribunal felt this was a legitimate claim. The Competition Tribunal said, yeah, why would you create a barrier if your existing bank does no barrier? Your existing bank says, well, we don't have to check your income, fuck all, nothing. Here, just look at your renewal.
Yeah.
Why would we create a barrier if the the borrower doesn't want 1 penny more, just wants to take exactly the same balance? Hey, the mortgage is $281,536. I just want to transfer it to another bank for a lower rate. Well, that's not asking for more money.
Yeah.
That's just moving it.
Just straight transfer.
That's all. So why? So the existing bank doesn't have to check anything, but the new bank has to check everything, has to do the whole income all over again, and add the stress test.
That's so bullshit, because that's giving the existing bank the power to give you whatever the fuck they want.
Possibly, yeah. If you don't pass the stress test, that's where you could end up. Now, happily, most people do get through the stress test, and we do a lot of transfers. But what about that 20% that we can't? Okay, just because of the stress test. Like, if it wasn't for the stress test, they could move their mortgage to a better rate.
All they want is a better rate.
That's it. So the competition tribunal said, you're right. This is unfair. But most of all, you're helping banks charge more. Okay, you're letting banks know that they don't have to compete.
Yeah.
They don't have to fight for their renewal customer because the renewal customer is locked in because of the stress test. We feel this is unfair and you should change it. You should remove the stress test. To what Peter Routledge said, he put his whole thoughts into what he wanted to say, and he created a big response. And in the end, he said, "You can fuck yourself, competition tribunal. Fuck you. We're not changing anything." Ooh. So he probably didn't say fuck, but he just refused.
In corporate world, he said fuck.
He just refused. He refused. No, we feel our position is prudent, and we don't care what you think. By the way, this is another legitimate federal government agency who gets shut down on fucking everything. The agency said, "No, I don't think these Rogers should buy Shaw. I think it's uncompetitive." And the federal government said, "No, we don't give a fuck what you think. Go ahead."
Yeah.
And then they raised all the rates. And then, we're not sure. We're really wondering seriously if RBC should buy HSBC Bank because it's concentrating in we're really worried about that. And the federal government said, "No, shut the fuck up. We don't care what you think."
Yeah.
We like uncompetitive stuff for Canadians. We like big companies to get bigger and richer. Now, I know the government says, "Oh, that's not true. We don't think that way." Prove it!
Yeah.
Fucking prove it!
Actions speak louder.
Actions speak a fuck of a lot louder. So, hey, my buddy Peter Routledge, who says that there's got to be a stress test on renewals so that the existing bank, because you know what Peter says, right? He says, we've studied this and the existing banks never gouge.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
All right, so
we'll take his word for it.
We're gonna take your but we're not gonna take your fucking word, Peter Routledge. Fuck yourself. You're fucking lying. Okay, it's a fucking lie. The more and more that banks determine, and with all your other new tests and all your other new bullshit and your 4.5 multiple, which is gonna push a few more people out of that renewal box. Okay, all your fuckery to be uncompetitive on renewal. Oh, I know what people out there are thinking. Oh, well, Ron, you're just trying to benefit yourself. Fuck, I do some mortgages, but I don't do all the fucking mortgages, okay? And why in the name of Christ is this country happy with uncompetitive situations? Isn't that what capitalism is supposed to be? Competition, okay? So, hey, Peter Routledge, boss of the bank regulator, you're fucking wrong. You're dead fucking wrong. And you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be absolutely fucking ashamed of yourself. Your own government counterpart said you were wrong, that we need to give people a chance to find a better rate on renewal. And you said, fuck you. I love my stress test. Well, guess what, Peter? We might get a new government in here someday. And I know who I'm going to point them at. I don't think he's worried at all. Not at all. Anyway, next week, folks, more action.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.